Thank you, Kelly. You can tell which side that Portugal will be coming out, because as they'll emerge from the tunnel down below, there is a rope, or we've got the light show now going on and the pyrotechnics, but the photographers are gathered either side of the tunnel, and they're all roped off and they're all wearing the green bibs. But do you remember Runaround with Mike Reed back in the day?
No, I don't remember that, sorry.
Okay, sorry, I'm showing my age. But you had to gamble on whether it would be A, B, C, and you had to go to a certain, aisle with this, when the game. At the minute, everybody's gambled going to the left rather than to the right, hoping to get that glimpse. So those on the right, I would say, are probably outnumbered by 4-1, because there is a posse of photographers down below. But wherever we look in this Lusail Stadium, and it is the largest venue of all 8 of the World Cup stadiums, futuristic. There is a light show, everybody with their lights on their mobile phones. It's like being at a pop concert, and then you've got the lighting that is not only around the advertising hoardings at ground level, but also the golden lighting in the middle tier, and then as it undulates at the top tier, all the way around this Lusail Stadium, which will host the World Cup final on December the 18th. But of course we're at the halfway stage, because this is match 32. And we've had 2 teams that have already qualified, and Portugal know with 3 points tonight they will be that 3rd team to join Brazil and the champions France, the reigning champions. That's their incentive.
Yeah, it's a big incentive, isn't it? And knowing that going into this game, I mean, do you need any extra incentive for Portugal in this tie at the moment? It's a bit of a grudge match, isn't it? It can be seen in that way, and you've got 2 very talented teams, but I'm sure that is something that will be in the back of their minds on the pitch tonight.
There is a glimpse of Ronaldo on the 4 giant screens, 2 at either end, effectively in each of the corners here in this huge arena. We knew that he got a terrific ovation when we saw him the other night in Stadium 974, when they opened up their campaign against Ghana. He's just had a little embrace in the tunnel with Federico Valverde, his former Real Madrid teammate, and here they come as the young mascot takes the ball off its plinth, and Cristiano Ronaldo leads out Portugal. And we're either going to get a really good game of football, although for those that like the niggle and sometimes the feisty encounter and the dark arts, as Kelly says, we might get one of those as well.
Yeah,
it could go either way.
And I wouldn't complain either way. I'd enjoy to see either, or a little bit of both mixed in. That would be your ideal, wouldn't it?
So yes, it would. There's a lot of Portuguese support away towards our left-hand side. The red and green flags are flying in the bottom tier of what is effectively 4 tiers here inside the Lusail Stadium. Under the dark skies of Doha, it's easy to pick out the sky blue of the Uruguayan supporters. Pockets all the way around this stadium for what really is going to be an intriguing game. Portugal against Uruguay in Group H, and Portugal, even though they've only played the 1 game, remain top. Ghana though have moved level with them on 3 points, but as we've been saying, the incentive is to finish top to avoid Brazil in the last 16. Here are the 2 sides then. Diogo Costa is in goal for Portugal, Cancelo is the right back, Ruben Dias is partnered by Pepe in the heart of their defence, and Pepe tonight becomes Portugal's oldest player at a World Cup at 39 years of age, beating Vitor Damas, who was 38 back in the 1986 World Cup in Mexico. Nuno Mendes gets his first outing at this World Cup at left back, replacing Guerrero. Ruben Neves and Carvalho in the midfield. Then you've got Bernardo Silva, João Felix, Bruno Fernandes and Cristiano Ronaldo, who of course has already made his mark in this tournament by creating history as well, scoring in his 5th World Cup, the only player ever to do so in the men's tournament. As for Uruguay, they too have made 3 changes. Sergio Rochet is in goal. They're going to play with the 3 central defenders: Jose Jimenez, Diego Godin and Sebastian Coates. The wing-backs will be Guillermo Varela, formerly of Manchester United, although he only made 11 appearances in 5 years. Matheus Oliveira, who's done ever so well for Napoli this season, is the left wing-back. Bentancur of Tottenham, parted by Vecino in the midfield. Valverde will float. Cavani and Nunez are the 2 up front. Luis Suarez is on the bench. So you're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live, and can I just say as well, if you haven't yet downloaded the BBC Sounds app, the beauty of doing so is that you can listen as well as do other things. And on BBC 2 very, very soon, it'll be the 3rd round draw of the FA Cup. So if you were listening on BBC Sounds, you'd be able to monitor that draw as well as listen to 5 Live. We will give you the draw in full at half-time with Kelly, and hopefully we'll be able to drop out if there is the odd sprinkling of eye-catching draws at some stage during this first half. But if not, the BBC Sport website and BBC 2 is the place to do that, because we're going to concentrate on the football. And Portugal, in the red and green tops and the green shorts, will be playing from right to left as we look in this first half against Uruguay, who are all in white. And so far in this stadium at the World Cup, the Lusail Stadium, we've seen the shock of Saudi Arabia beating Argentina. We've witnessed a stunning goal from Richarlison, Brazil against Serbia, and then we had the Messi magic for Argentina against Mexico. We're at the halfway stage of the World Cup. You're listening to BBC Radio 5 Live, and match 32 of 64 of every game that is live on 5 Live and BBC Sounds is now underway. And I've got to say, Matt Upson, really looking forward to this one.
Absolutely, Deno. I've been looking at the teams, thinking about the game on the way to the stadium as we arrive. Just the whole feel of this occasion at the biggest stadium in Doha. It's probably worthy of these 2 teams and what they can bring together. Let's hope that the match lives up to that.
It's a futuristic stadium with its gold-coloured exterior, taking the inspiration from a lantern. There was an early challenge on João Felix that the referee Ali Reza Fagani from Iran just gave a free kick without taking any action. And we talked before about Pepe and him breaking a record for Portugal. Cavani and Godin are actually equaling Muslera's national record of 16 World Cup appearances for Uruguay down there today. So much experience on show on both sides for Portugal and Uruguay as the ball goes out of play, and it will be a Portugal throw down below, which João Felix will leave for Nuno Mendes, this outstanding left back, only 20 years of age. Wasn't necessarily fully fit to start against Ghana, but he's replaced Guerreiro. He's midway through the Uruguay half. The ball goes back. Remember, Portugal will qualify with a win as Pepe plays the ball out to Cancelo and back to Pepe, and then running towards him is Nunez, but they bypass Nunez and Neves is there and Ruben Dias. And then Ruben Dias will go back towards Neves, who just drops in between the 2 central defenders as both fullbacks are pushed on. That was Cancelo who's lost the ball, and now Uruguay have an opportunity to come forward, but the shot was a little wayward from that far side. It was Oliveira, the left wing back, who'd won it, but it was off target goal kick.
Really good pressure from Oliveira to win the ball initially, put Cancelo right under pressure as he had his touch, stole the ball, played a little 1-2, and the shot, he was way off balance. I mean, he was never going to hit the target. It was a little bit rash, almost like, what am I doing here? I'm on the edge of the box now and I can score. But just a little insight into how Uruguay may approach this. I think they're going to be patient, not go and press all the time. Portugal, very good footballing team. They're going to wait for their moment and then try and pounce.
Well, certainly if you look at the record since Diego Alonso has taken charge, he's been in charge for 10 games, they've won 7, they've conceded just twice in that period. They've only had the 1 defeat, it was against actually Iran in a friendly, as Cristiano Ronaldo chests the ball forward and then it's hit on the full by Carvalho on the volley, right-footed.
It's interesting, isn't it?
How far did that bounce off the chest of Ronaldo?
He shouldered it.
Oh, it was off his
popped
shoulder.
It with his shoulder. Yeah, I mean, the throw-in, he ran into the offside position, but because it's from a throw-in, it was a really long throw over the top of the whole of the Uruguay back three, and he was practically on the goal line, and he just shouldered the ball, caught it right on the corner of his shoulder, which is why it pinged so far onto the edge of the box for a volley from Carvalho. And I mean, that would have been some goal. Very unusual.
Yeah, the last time I saw somebody show such strength with the shoulder was Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon, when it had popped out and was trying to pop it back into place, as he so often did. It didn't half. It must have gone about 8 yards off Cristiano Ronaldo's shoulder there.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a chest doing
No,
that.
I thought it was off his six-pack.
Well, he might have the chest for it.
He will have the chest for it, there's no doubt about that. Portugal in possession on the far side. 4 minutes played, 0-0. Matt Upson is with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Pepe goes inside to Carvalho. Carvalho now back with Ruben Dias in front of that singing section of the Uruguayan support, but then nice patient play by Portugal, and now it's with Bruno Fernandes, quite deep, challenged by Valverde, releases the ball out towards that far side. Uruguay all in white, playing from left to right, have just dropped off. Bernardo Silva's on that right hand side now. He plays the ball inside. Ruben Neves has got the space in order to turn, and then it's intercepted with the head of Valverde, but won back then by Neves. And now Fernandes to João Felix, and he was just caught by Jose Jimenez.
I thought he's bought that. Jimenez running towards the referee with the ball. João Felix has his touch, but I think Jimenez just reads it. Looks a little bit clumsy from the defender, but there's not enough contact to put him to the floor. He really does just feel the arm on his shoulder and throws himself onto the floor, and referee awards the free kick.
João Felix has given the ball away. Oliveira goes inside, hit forward and long by Quasez towards Valverde, who just seemed to wrestle Mendes to the floor, and the referee spotted that. Although Diego Alonso, wearing his suit, his dark suit, but white pumps in the technical area, waves his left hand away in frustration at the Iranian referee, and that was a late challenge. Bentancur just catching Ruben Dias, and the referee is going to produce an early yellow card, and the Tottenham Hotspur midfielder Rodrigo Bentancur has been shown a yellow card after just 6 minutes.
Well, when you're in the heart of the pitch and there's loose balls popping up everywhere and you're a central midfield player, a yellow card this early on might not be a positive thing, and that is just a clumsy tackle on Ruben Dias, who's just laid the ball back to the goalkeeper. Bentancur's running out to pressurise him, and he stands right on his heel of his boot. It's quite a nasty one, because Ruben Dias has gone down actually really feeling that. I mean, he'll get up because it's a kick and a scrape, but it was actually very unnecessary, and he's got himself a yellow card, which puts him in a difficult position, Bentancur.
There's actually only one player of the two sets who's actually starting this game who was on a yellow card that would have meant that if he picks it up tonight, he'd be suspended for the final set of group games on Friday, and that's Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United. Because the others who are actually on the bench, Caceres of Uruguay, and the other one was Danilo Pereira, who's actually missing the rest of the group stages with those 3 fractured ribs that he picked up in training. Bentancur wins the ball back from Bernardo Silva. Carvalho, though, then with the interception for Portugal midway through his own half. Portugal were playing from right to left, 0-0. BBC Radio 5 Live, just over 7 minutes play. Delightful crossfield ball, downward header from Ronaldo. He did well. Bruno Fernandes shapes to shoot, drags it well off target, right-footed. Ronaldo isn't happy. He's posturing with his hands on his hips. It actually found a bit of area of space on the right-hand side. He wanted the return ball, and in fact the two of them just have a little touch of their hands as an apology from Bruno Fernandes. It was never troubling Rochette in the Uruguayan goal.
No, I mean, he just nodded the ball down and then just peeled out wide onto the right-hand side, wanting the ball fed back to him so he could then drive into the box and see what options were available. But I mean, it's twice now that Uruguay have won the ball relatively high up the pitch in terms of pressurising Portugal on the ball. They haven't quite done enough with it when they've got in those key areas. Mendes
inside to Carvalho. The return ball comes to Carvalho, who turns away from the challenges of Jimenez, who'd come out of defence, playing with that back 3. And now it's with Bernardo Silva and Ruben Dias. When the ball was played up before, one of the Portuguese central defenders, it might have been Ruben Dias, just gave a little nudge towards Cavani as the ball is hit long, high, into the penalty area. And it had Diego Alonso fuming at the fourth official. Just those little signs off the ball where they're just going to try and niggle at each other. And that might well be a running theme throughout this game. 8.5 minutes played. Mendes, forward ball. Ronaldo goes on the inside, finds Bruno Fernandes, looking for the run of Bernardo Silva. We'd questioned earlier on with Tim Vickery who was going to make those runs through from midfield, and we'd said about Neves and Carvalho will provide the insurance, and then you're going to have Bernardo Silva and Bruno Fernandes. We just saw a glimpse of it, trying to break through.
Absolutely, and it looks like Bernardo Silva's going to play that slightly more number 10 role with Fernandes wide on the right. But it was a lovely interception from Jimenez, who went to ground. He saw the space. As a defender, anything between you and your fullback is trouble, especially when there's runners from wide areas, and he knew that space was there, went to ground, committed to it, and just blocked that pass. But it's better from Portugal to look to have that ball in behind to really cause damage to the back three of Uruguay.
Bentancur running back, tidying things up, and with the back pass to the luminous orange goalkeeper in his outfit of Sergio Rocher, as the thunderclap you can hear from this. Not a sellout crowd, there are quite a few empty seats in a stadium that holds 80,000. But they're creating a decent atmosphere, it's got to be said, but it's a free kick to Uruguay. Uruguay have made a very solid start.
Yeah, it's not been a fast-paced game, has it? It's been very, very tactical. You know, they're allowing Portugal to have the ball, they're keeping their shape, they're choosing when to press and when to just sit off, and they just don't want to allow too many opportunities for their clever players to get time and space on the ball.
Miscontrol from Bruno Fernandes on the far side, the right, and now Nunez picks it up. Darwin Nunez runs down that left touchline, that far side, down towards the corner flag, and actually he wins a corner, and then he kicks the advertising hoarding with his right leg and tries to fire up that pocket of sky blue support behind that goal where some of the Uruguayan fans are situated. Corner kick to Uruguay.
He had nowhere else to go, did he? He's actually done really well to win a corner there, Darwin Nunez. He's on that left-hand side, he was a bit isolated, he just thought, I'll knock this down the line and then just cross it into one of the defenders and win a corner.
Corner kick, it's taken short. Oliveira then with the cross on the left-hand side, and the header looping over the top by Jimenez onto the roof of the net, over the crossbar. Had it covered, did Diogo Costa. Just wondered as well whether Fernando Santos would have kept faith with Diogo Costa, because they'd alternated during the recent Nations League campaign. He nearly made that costly error right at the end of that dramatic contest against Ghana. But the fact that now the Porto keeper, who I've got to say was faultless during the World Cup playoffs, I would imagine now that he is going to remain the number one ahead of Rui Patricio for Portugal going forward. At the age of 23, it would be maybe the right thing to do.
He'll never be happier to see a player slip over than what he did. I can't remember who it was it Williams?
Yes, it was, yeah.
Just, oh dear me, if he hadn't have slipped over, that would have been a terrible error, wouldn't it? To have put them to 3-3 in that game and only walk away with a point.
Well, Ghana today were involved in another 3-2 contest, but on this occasion they beat South Korea by 3-2, as the Iranian referee is just having a word with Ruben Dias.
It's Bentancur again. He's got to be careful. He's left a little bit late on Neves as he's just passing the ball backwards. He doesn't need to do that. It's just he's marking his own book, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He's letting the referee. You know, the referee should be having a conversation with him now, saying, right, you're done. You've used up all your freebies. You've got a yellow card. Next one, you could be in trouble.
Yes.
And it's early in the game for that, in this type of game as well, in his position in the centre of the park.
Well, he was still chuntering, and the referee has had a word with Bentancur, who was on a yellow card after his booking after 6 minutes. Play is back underway. It's still 0-0. Portugal play from the back, but certainly Bentancur has got to watch his discipline.
Because it's not like he's making tackles that are effective in any way, or that, you know, that he's going into a tackle and really, you know, winning the ball cleanly or being aggressive. They're like the little niggly kicks off the ball, aren't they, and shoves and pushes, and it's just, you know, he's got to be careful.
But one mistimed challenge now. He's in the forefront of the referee's mind, you would think. Ronaldo lays it off, coming forward. Bernardo Silva for Portugal midway through the Uruguayan half. Bruno Fernandes back with Ronaldo. There's a quartet of Portuguese players who've drifted out towards that right-hand side. João Felix was the one who was in a central position, and here he is, but it bounced away from him. And Cavani now with a layoff. And Vecino will run forward for Uruguay, all in white, up towards Nunez, tries to stab it back into the path of the midfielder, but they've lost it, and then Cancelo to Pepe, and then they go back all the way towards Costa, the goalkeeper. Plays it out right-footed along the ground. And Ruben Dias will wait until Mendes, not going too far forward from his left-back role. He'll look for the run of Cristiano Ronaldo, and there was that first opportunity that Ronaldo and Godin have come together, and he gets a throw that Ronaldo will take. Ronaldo on this left-hand side, the crowd love the couple of step-overs. Back it goes to Mendes, standing still. There was no pressure on the ball to Carvalho.
I mean, how many of those red shirts in the crowd tonight are Ronaldo fans and not necessarily Portugal fans?
Yeah.
He's got a huge following, isn't he?
Yeah. That just, for me the other night, the reaction that he got against Ghana as the ball goes out of play just reaffirmed that in this part of the world, you know, they've come to see the superstars, and Ronaldo is definitely one of those. And he didn't disappoint either, did he, with his record scoring penalty. So, although it was a controversial decision, very surprised that VAR didn't rule that out. But Portugal were up and running, and now they know that they can get back-to-back wins here, and they will join Brazil, have also qualified along with France earlier today. Now here is João Felix, edge of the area, shot charged down, it loops in the air and just drifts wide and out for a corner kick. Brazil beating Switzerland by 1-0, joining France already in the knockout stages, and that's where Portugal want to be.
Great early pass from Pepe, sees João Felix available when the ball pops loose to him, really wraps that pass in, very firm, good touch on the half turn, and then he's going at the Uruguay back three, shifts it onto his right foot and just tries to bend it into that far corner. Big deflection, the ball goes up in the air, but Uruguay really struggling to keep hold of the ball at the moment. They're turning it over far too quickly, and Portugal got so much possession.
That FA Cup third round draw is now underway. It's live on BBC Two through the BBC Sounds app. You can listen to us and still watch it should you so wish. The full reaction to come though on half-time of that as we concentrate here in the World Cup. It's a corner kick. Bernardo Silva deliberately goes out wide, pinging the ball to Mendes, who was caught. Referee's played the advantage. The cross comes in and now he brings it back. Good refereeing from Ali Reza Fagani of Iran. Free kick to Portugal. Dangerous position this. Mendes was the one caught.
Yeah, it's late tackle on Mendes. Vecino, the culprit. I didn't quite get the corner, did you? Floating that out to the back. I mean, I don't know what Mendes was going to do with that ball, whether he expected him to hit it on the volley. I mean, it would have been some strike, but just ends up bringing the ball down and then running towards the touchline with it. So, bizarre corner, but it's ended up in a free kick with that man Ronaldo standing very proud over the ball with his chest popped out. You'll have to see, this looks in range, Deno.
It does. It's 25 yards out from goal. It's left of centre, and Ronaldo's going to have a diagonal dig at goal here. The way that he's run up, legs wide apart, 3 or 4 strides back with purpose from Ronaldo. There are 5 white shirts in the wall, but there are also 2 Portuguese players stood in front of that wall. As Ronaldo hits it, into the wall it goes, and goes behind for a corner kick. And we're watching here Cancelo and Ruben Dias for Portugal, and Manchester City, I can tell you, are at home to Chelsea in one of already the standout ties in that third round draw for the FA Cup. It's 0-0. We've been playing here for 18 minutes in the Lusail Stadium. Corner now is going to be rolled short. Neves delivers it, and it was blocked and sent out behind for another corner. Spurs versus Portsmouth, Cardiff versus Leeds United, and Brentford against West Ham United. Just some of the third round ties in that FA Cup as we wait for the corner kick to be delivered. There are 5 Portuguese players in the penalty area. Uruguay have everybody back bar Nunez. It's a corner kick, it's an outswinger, delivered from the right hand side, delivered too deep, one bounce away from João Felix, and the delivery not necessarily the best from Portugal at those set pieces.
No, didn't understand the first one, and that is not Bruno Fernandes's best corner for sure. He just massively overhits it. I mean, it bounces near enough outside the far 18-yard box line and just skips harmlessly out for a throw-in.
Throw for Uruguay. Cavani hasn't really seen much of the ball so far. Uruguay give it away. João Felix midway through the Uruguay half, outside the centre circle. Neves, Cancelo inside the centre circle, passes it out to this left-hand side. Over the halfway line they come. Mendes starting to get forward now on this near side, the left. Man over on that far side, the right is Cancelo, and Neves finds him. So the fullbacks are pushed on. Back it goes inside. Neves to Mendes with a cross. It was a low one. Not the best of clearances from Jimenez. Out towards the left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes with a cross. On the stretch, Godin comes out to Neves. Fires it in from distance. Uruguay now will break. Valverde out towards Cavani. Short of the halfway line. Chips the ball long. Nunez takes it well off the chest. Pops it over the head of Valverde. And that will give Mendes the opportunity to just allow the ball to run out of play for a throw.
It was a poor pass from Nunez. Really was. Decent clip from Cavani on the counter-attack, but Uruguay at the moment, they're having to find the perfect pass to get out, and that to actually then get players further up the pitch and establish some kind of control or possession of the ball. I mean, talk about Cavani not having a touch. Uruguay haven't had the ball, have they? It's just goes straight back to Portugal every time. I know it's a different shape and formation, but they've got to start to get control possession and try and build on that.
Here is Pepe, goes square with a pass to Cancelo, who goes all the way back towards his goalkeeper. Today is the final day of morning action, so it all changes, and as a result it means that Nicky Campbell is back on BBC Radio 5 Live, taking your calls at 9 o'clock. That's after Rick and Rachel on 5 Live Breakfast at 6 o'clock in the morning. Rick Edwards, of course, is out here in Doha. In fact, one of his guests tomorrow will be Rio Ferdinand, so you'll have Rick, Rachel and Rio at some stage tomorrow morning on BBC Radio 5 Live. Rio Ferdinand, who earlier was talking to Kelly, very measured about England, and saying about how they need to trust Gareth Southgate, and also about how Gareth Southgate's trust in Harry Maguire has benefited the Manchester United defender. Of course, Wales against England tomorrow in Group B. It's underway at 7 o'clock after we have brought you Ecuador against Senegal at 3 with news of Netherlands against Qatar. The head-to-heads, the final set of group games tomorrow. As here is Portugal. The ball scooped forward, headed away by Coates, the former Liverpool and Sunderland defender. Carvalho, forward ball given away straight to Bentancur, and then Godin strokes the ball out towards that far side, and Oliveira can run forward, and then sportingly actually he knocks the ball out of play because Bruno Fernandes was down, and that will allow a stoppage in play, and it is a free kick. Preston, Huddersfield, Middlesbrough, Brighton, Chesterfield, West Brom, Manchester United, Everton and Newcastle are yet to be drawn. Millwall have got Sheffield United. Who said I can't multitask? But Manchester United, Everton and Newcastle are yet to be drawn, and in fact Sunderland also remain. Could we have a time-weird derby in that third round? As there's not many teams that are left in that third round draw that it's coming to its conclusion. Bruno Fernandes plays it forward. Cristiano Ronaldo finds a bit of space left hand side, chips the ball towards the far post. Fernandes will get there first, plays it back. Cancelo unmarked, right corner of the area. Cancelo drives it in low, comes back to the Manchester City player, and then Cancelo now towards Bruno Fernandes. He drills it over João Felix controls it, takes the ball out of the penalty area on the left-hand side. 23 minutes played and it's still 0-0. You're listening to 5 Live. João Felix towards Neves. Portugal is certainly dominating, seeing so much of the ball. Little back heel to Bruno Fernandes, plays it back towards Bernardo Silva. Couldn't take it with him in that inside right channel of the penalty area. Out towards Cancelo, at a standstill, to Ruben Neves. At the minute, Uruguay are just trying to contain Portugal. Here is Carvalho. Short square ball to Ruben Neves, just outside the centre circle. With the exception of Ruben Dias, every outfield player is now in the Uruguayan half. 24 minutes played, still 0-0. Matt Upson.
I mean, I'm not too sure if Uruguay are really getting to grips with this shape and formation, especially out of possession, because there's too many opportunities where Portugal have got so much time on the ball, just on the edge of the 18-yard box of Uruguay, and they're having to track runners into space, and it's just a little bit of kind of like, whose responsibility is this? Who goes with that man? It doesn't look particularly well set up at the moment, and they're just managing to fill enough spaces and stop enough runs or balls being penetrated through to stay in the game. But Portugal completely dominating the play.
Certainly are. Ball spread out towards the right hand side, just looking across towards the left to George, our producer, is furiously writing down some teams for me. Newcastle have got Everton at home in that FA Cup third round draw, as Mendes now comes onto the ball left hand side, delivers it low. Bernardo Silva again couldn't take it into his stride. That's twice now that he's been unable just to get on the end of it. There's a low cross from the left, but Portugal are just starting to threaten.
I mean, if Uruguay are not careful, one of those is going to land in exactly the right spot. A Portuguese player is going to take it in their stride, and it's going to be in the back of the net with the way things are going. There's too many runs into those areas. The balls are wide. Nice interchange of passing. They've started really well, Portugal, and those players that we mentioned before, Felix, Neves, Silva, Fernandes, they're all kind of linking together very well.
He's got the handwriting of a doctor writing down for a prescription. You can't read it. He's actually now apologised. Bad handwriting. It wasn't Newcastle Everton. It was Manchester United against Everton, and it was Sheffield Wednesday against Newcastle.
So can you multitask?
I can. He can't. He only had one job to do.
I can't believe you're blaming George. I thought it was quite clear, George.
Believe me, it wasn't. He's scribbled it out now. 26 minutes played. The full draw Lady Kelly will have for you at half-time. I'm sure her handwriting is nothing like that of a doctor. Cancelo on the far side. It'll be as neat as Matt Upson away towards my right-hand side. 27 minutes played, still 0-0.
It's the second time you've complimented my handwriting.
Here is Mendes. It's about 10 times larger than John Murray's handwriting, as the ball is played inside by Mendes.
I don't know if you can talk, to be honest. So I'm trying to read yours.
Neves goes with a searching diagonal ball. Bruno Fernandes won't keep it in play, and it goes out of play for a goal kick. Do you think that Uruguay have come into this game thinking, let's not lose this game? Because they haven't really shown a great deal of adventure.
No, it would surprise me if they had. I mean, I just think that they've set up with this formation, and they've got their two strikers high up the pitch, which is all great, and they want to utilise Valverde on the ball. But in order to do that, you need to have the ball. And at the moment, the dominance of Portugal in possession is unbelievable. I'm trying to look at the stats. It's nearly 70%.
Yeah. And
that's included with the ball in contest for 10%.
Yeah.
So there's only 20% of the ball has been with Uruguay, and it's as simple as that, Deno, to be honest. I don't think they're looking at it thinking we're going to set up and be negative. They're trying to incorporate more of an attacking edge by playing a back three, you know, but they just can't have the ball.
Yeah. It's 0-0. The voice of Matt Upson with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live. I know they failed to muster a shot on target against South Korea, although that was slightly misleading, because they did hit the woodwork, of course, through Godin and Valverde in the opening game. But as far as the stats are concerned, that's why it's said that they failed to muster a shot on target, because when you hit the woodwork it doesn't count. It's a Portugal throw midway through their own half on this near side to left, and it's a long one from Mendes to Bruno Fernandes, who plays it back. Ronaldo's sliced that, goes up in the air, headed forward by Vecino. Valverde's forward ball in the air, headed away by Pepe. Bentancur now heads it towards Varela, and the interception from Carvalho. And now to Bruno Fernandes on the halfway line, who curls the ball out towards the right hand side. Cancelo joins the attack. He's midway through the Uruguay half. Backpedaling out towards that right touchline is Bernardo Silva. Neves then delivers the cross. It's very, very deep, and the header from Bruno Fernandes from a very tight angle almost came off square off his head. Right-hand side, left-hand side of the 6-yard box, went straight into the grateful arms of Sergio Rocher.
Yeah, he went early. It was offside. The run from Bruno Fernandes was very early, but Neves knew exactly what he wanted. I think he was looking for Cristiano Ronaldo, who had just pulled onto that back post, but Bruno Fernandes came from deeper into that back post area, but he was at least 3 or 4 yards offside.
The full draw at half-time. Some of the other ties of note: Manchester City then against Chelsea, Oxford United versus Arsenal, one of your former clubs, Matt, Aston Villa versus Stevenage, Dagenham or Gillingham versus Leicester City, Blackpool against Nottingham Forest, Liverpool versus Wolves, Boreham Wood versus Accrington Stanley, and I noticed that Wrexham were away to Coventry City.
Are they all correct?
We'll find out when Kelly reads them out again at half-time. Ball's been won on that far side. It's a cross from the left-hand side. It was from Vecino, and he will leave the throw-in duties for the left for Mateus Oliveira.
It's been a slow-paced game, isn't it?
Slow burner, yeah.
Yeah, it's not fast. It's kind of, you have the ball, okay, Portugal can have it, we'll sit off a little bit, Uruguay's stances, let them play, and it's not chasing around the pitch trying to press each other at all. It's just moments where they go and they'll go all the way in and press and try and win the ball, but the rest of the time kind of both teams are sat quite comfortable.
From the throw on the left to Bentancur. Bentancur though is dropping back towards the halfway line. It's a very, very slow pace from Uruguay. When he handed me the piece of paper, though, unlike a prescription, he didn't charge me £9. Back it goes to Rocher. Is that the price now, prescriptions?
I don't know. Must have gone up.
Back with the Uruguayan goalkeeper. Half an hour played on BBC Radio 5 Live. Rocher downfield. Nunez climbs in the air with Cancelo. Nunez is able to turn. Cavani with the return ball. And now it's with Oliveira on that left-hand side. Cavani wins the throw for Uruguay.
It's just nice to see them with the ball in the Portuguese half. We haven't seen that hardly at all in this first half. They've got a throw in over the far side, and the ability to get white shirts further up the pitch and try and get some passes together and get a bit of movement from the front too that can affect the Portuguese centre-backs.
Haven't really had a chance of any note so far in this game. Portugal 0, Uruguay 0 at the Lusail Stadium. So when before we talked about the drama that we'd seen in some of the games before, nothing to match any of those moments, whether it be Saudi Arabia, Richarlison or Lionel Messi. However, if you think back to Portugal's opening game against Ghana, and that was 0-0, and then who would have thought we'd have had 5 goals in the second half as Bentancur charges forward for Uruguay. Bentancur going alone, and then a very good save from Diogo Costa off his goal line. That was the best chance of the match so far, and Costa cancelled out Bentancur.
Well, out of nowhere, Bentancur has gone on an unbelievable run through the whole heart of the pitch. I mean, he picks the ball up inside the centre circle, he's driving at the defence. Darwin Núñez makes a really good run that drags Pepe away and then allows him that 1v1 with Diaz, and he just worms his way through, I think, 2 players there. And I know we raised question marks of Diogo Costa before the game with that mistake, but he completely saves Portugal here. He throws himself out. Bentancur puts his head in his hands because he knows if he just lifts that ball, he tries to go underneath the goalkeeper as he's diving out with his legs wide, and he just kind of sits on top of the ball. Costa gets enough on it to slow the ball up and stop it just behind him, And Bentancur, I mean, that would have been some goal, wouldn't it?
Certainly would. I mean, as you say, he picked the ball up inside his own half in the centre circle and just went right the way through the middle of the pitch. And it was a strong run from Bentancur, but Costa, question marks maybe towards the end of that Ghana game, but there he was quickly off his line and just smothered the ball, as you say. Ended up sitting on the ball.
Yeah, it's a big save.
Was a very big save, and the best chance of the game so far. And that just seems to have fired up Uruguay, but Cavani's given it away. Interception from Bernardo Silva. Now to João Felix. Bernardo Silva is running on the outside of him to the left, and here is Bernardo Silva. Down towards the byline he goes, left-hand side of the penalty area, still 0-0, 11 minutes to go to half-time. Ball then rolled back towards Mendes. Mendes has Carvalho on the inside, behind him is Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes now takes over, runs on his toes forward, crosses the ball out towards Cancelo, just takes a couple of steps back, waits for the ball to come towards him on that far side. Oliveira holds him up, Cancelo plays the ball back, Neves goes short and square to Carvalho, and then Pepe enters the Uruguay half, finds João Felix. Cristiano Ronaldo takes over. Buzz of excitement around the stadium. Left-footed shot blocked on the edge of the box. Comes back to Ronaldo, to João Felix. He's going to shoot from distance. It's a double deflection, and it cannons behind. And the referee is going to award a goal kick, says the Iranian referee, Ali Reza Fagani.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision because it deflects. And then I think the final touch just spins up off Bernardo Silva, who's in front of the play. And I'm just having a quick scan at this replay of the Bentancur chance, and Diego Costa makes himself really big, comes out arms wide, sliding onto the floor, and luckily for Portugal he doesn't leave too big a gap underneath him for that ball just to slide underneath him. Bentancur thought he'd scored. It was a good save.
10 minutes to go to half-time on BBC Radio 5 Live. Bentancur again does well, accelerates away from a challenge, plays the ball out to Oliveira, first time cross, Bentancur gets a touch, and then it went in the direction of Nunez, and Nunez couldn't get a meaningful touch, and it runs harmlessly out for a goal kick. Almost came too quick for Nunez from that stretching.
Yeah, I don't think he quite knew what he wanted to do with it, Deno. It kind of got deflected to him, and do I control it? Do I have a shot? You know, ball's going away from him a little bit. Couldn't quite get a hold of it, because if he'd have just got hold of it with his back to the goal, the ball's still really live, and there's a great opportunity. But in the second chance that Bentancur's really created another driving run from him. He's going past people in that midfield area like they're not there.
It's his 53rd cap for his country. Consistent performer, Rodrigo Bentancur. As Costa, the Portuguese goalkeeper, away towards our right, hits it long downfield. Jimenez heads it into the path of Godin, who tidies up and goes back towards the goalkeeper, and then from Vecino's touch, who had to take it first time because Carvalho was coming towards him, it goes out of play, and Portugal have taken that throw quickly. 9 minutes to go to half-time. Bernardo Silva dropping deep midway through his own half, passes the ball to Ruben Dias as that chunk of sky blue away towards our right hand side are jumping up and down behind that goal as Mendes tries to run past Varela, and Godin wasn't quick enough to get there, and Mendes now plays the ball inside to Bruno Fernandes. Good block coming in from Coates. Loose ball played out towards the right hand side. Bernardo Silva to Cancelo, diagonal ball, Ronaldo high off the chest. Ronaldo trying to create the opening, tried to play it back to João Felix. Bentancur there to knock it out of play for a throw on this near side, the Portuguese left.
Brilliant decision from Ronaldo to not head that ball. He read the flight brilliantly, stepped back, pedalled and just chested it from over the top of the Uruguayan player's head, and just tried to flick it back with his right foot onto the edge of the box as he was seeing the Portuguese players arrive as he was back there. It was a really nice decision from Ronaldo.
Carvalho with a switch of play towards the right. Oliveira climbs in the air. Uruguay have it at the back, and Coates plays the ball up towards Nunez over the halfway line. He rolls away from Neves and now accelerates. Nunez has the supporting run on this right hand side of Varela. Nunez has done well. Varela brought down. Should be a yellow card. No attempt to play the ball from Neves, and there it is, a yellow card for the Wolverhampton Wanderers midfielder.
Yeah, cynical foul. The player had gone past him, just puts his hand on his shoulder and just pulls him back, creates the foul, and yep, it is a yellow card, and it's in a position probably about 10 yards outside of the corner of the 18-yard box, so an opportunity for Uruguay to swing the ball in the box and ask a question of Portugal how they're going to defend this set piece.
Well, you look at the aerial threat that Uruguay will pose here, and there are a number of candidates that will be troubling the Portuguese defence. Godin is up from the back. Coates is up from the back. Valverde is going to take it. It's a Uruguayan free kick. It's approaching 30 yards out from goal. It's right of centre. Portugal have got two in the wall on the edge of the area. Godin is up there as well. Jimenez, Cavani. Needs a good delivery from Valverde. It's 0-0 on BBC Radio 5 Live. The referee is just having to sort out a little bit of pushing and shoving. It is a very, very congested penalty area, and he's still not happy. Pepe and Ruben Dias, Nunez, they really have gathered, and Nunez at the minute has turned his back to where the ball's going to come from. The referee's got to have eyes in the back of his head here. Here it comes now. Valverde comes off the Uruguayan head in the crowded penalty area, cross then from the left hand side, cleared away by Carvalho. Varela will retrieve it for Uruguay, but because Bernardo Silva is running at him at pace, he goes all the way back to the goalkeeper, all in orange, away towards our left hand side, and we have 5 minutes to go to half time.
He was being quite picky there, the referee, on that set piece, wasn't he? I think if he wants to see perfection in terms of how people are going to stand and behave themselves in those situations, they'll be waiting a long time, because there's a lot of niggle going on, isn't there? A lot of shoving, a lot of, jousting for position. It's pretty normal in a set piece when the ball's wide.
This looks like a concern here for Portugal. Nuno Mendes, who picked up a hamstring injury on October the 5th against Benfica for Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, has gone down. He didn't play against Ghana in the opening group game, but if there is a recurrence or an aggravation to that injury, then Nuno Mendes could be in real trouble.
Yeah, he could, and it'd be a real shame if that was the case. He's got that look on his face, hasn't he? The body language of kind of knowing that this is a problem, and you can just tell he's being consoled by his teammates, as I think he knows that this could be it for him. If it is that reoccurrence, and if it is that kind of problem, you just don't have the timeline to get yourself fit to compete again, and it's sad for such a talented player.
Well, the young man is in tears as he's coming off the pitch, and that facial expression and his reaction tells its own sorry story as far as Nuno Mendes is concerned, because you get the impression that he feels his World Cup could well be over. Coming into the tournament with a hamstring injury, he's gone straight down the tunnel, and he's going to be replaced by Guerreiro.
You just know as a player, that kind of feeling that you get, you know that you're in a World Cup tournament, you've got matches every 4 or 5 days. It's just not going to be achievable to get an injury like that any better to compete, and it's sad. He's really upset. It's a massive occasion for him, and really disappointing.
So Guerreiro, who started the game at left back against Ghana, comes on to replace him. Of course, the other injury problems that they have at the moment is Danilo Pereira, who we know will certainly miss the final group game against South Korea after fracturing 3 ribs in training, and Otavio struggling with a knock as well. Both of those are unavailable here tonight, and now they've lost Nuno Mendes as well. 2.5 minutes then to go in another game that remains goalless as we approach half-time here in this World Cup. Varela for Uruguay, right hand side, crosses into the penalty area, cleared by an outstretched right leg of Ruben Dias. Varela touches the ball inside, won back though by Bernardo Silva. Bruno Fernandes is brought to the ground, and it will be a free kick. That'll be 15 of the 30 matches so far goalless at half time. No, that can't be right, can it? I must have missed a couple. If this is match 32 at the halfway stage.
I know you like keeping note of the goalless games at half time.
I'll need to work on that.
One
at
of your
half
things,
time.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Along with the fastest goal.
I don't think
you know that one.
I don't think 67 seconds will be beaten.
No, I don't.
No. You know when you start reading something out and you're thinking, no, that can't be right.
Yeah. Leave it there.
Yeah. We'll move on. Hopefully Kelly's not listening. Under 2 minutes to go to half time.
Well, Uruguay have moved on a bit. I have to say they've had far more of the ball in the last 10 minutes of the game. Started to bump up that percentage a little bit more in their favour. A couple of good chances and slowly growing into this game a bit more from what was the start of being very much on the back foot and just being really cagey and a little bit passive. They just started to get into the game a little bit.
I did fear the worst when I was watching the games earlier today. Cameroon 3, Serbia 3, as a yellow card has just been shown to Matías Oliveira of Uruguay from our Iranian official. So when it was Cameroon 3, Serbia 3 and South Korea 2, Ghana 3, I heard one of the TV commentators saying it was the highest scoring day at a World Cup since the 10th of June 1990. And then I thought, when Mark Chapman said feast or famine, and then we've only had the one goal Brazil-Switzerland, I think the day started with a feast, and now we have the famine as it remains 0-0 between Portugal and Uruguay. And we're about to find out how much added on time there will be. But we're yet to have. I've not commentated on a goalless draw so far in this tournament.
Just leave it with the goalless draws, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll hope that we have a little bit more of the what happened in the second half when Portugal played Ghana, because you certainly wouldn't have expected 5 goals after the first 45 minutes of that contest.
No, that really came to life, didn't it?
And although I've got to say, I wouldn't predict 5 at this stage.
No, it doesn't seem that kind of game. Very tactical, and teams, Uruguay in particular, just trying to stay in shape and cope with the movement that Portugal are putting out there. But I just feel that as time goes, if you're going to allow them the kind of possession they've had in certain areas, they've got the quality to really hurt you. Corner kick for Portugal on the right hand side, headed out by Oliveira. We talked before about how stingy this defence can be for Uruguay under Diego Alonso, and certainly for all the possession that Portugal have had, they have restricted Portugal to shots from distance, and then that tame header from Bruno Fernandes from close range from a very, very tight angle that was easily caught by Sergio Rocher, the Uruguayan keeper. So 3 minutes of added on time on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds, and it remains 0-0. And now Jimenez is complaining about João Felix, and the referee is just coming across and just saying, let me do the refereeing, will you? And then of course the fourth official's now getting it in the lug-hole from the Uruguayan bench as well, so he has to tell Diego Alonso to calm down as the free kick is taken short. Bentancur, the little flick by Vecino. Pepe is there to tidy up inside his own penalty area, and Costa with the first time clearance. Bentancur will head it forward for Uruguay. Ruben Dias just steps forward and then plays the ball back, all in blue for Diego Costa. Plenty of elevation on that clearance. Varela couldn't get on the end of Nunez's header to this right hand side. Carvalho is fouled by Vecino, and it'll be a free kick to Portugal. It was twice there in that passage of play that the ball's gone long from the goalkeeper. Uruguay have won the header. It's gone to one of their players. They've given it away. It goes back to Portugal, gone back to the goalkeeper, gone long again. Uruguay win the header, giving the ball away again, and it's just been that pattern. They've not got hold of the ball, Uruguay, at all. They haven't shown any real quality or confidence or desire to want to have possession and build and create chances. They're very much relying on the ball going forward. One of their centre forwards players, or someone like Bentancur, going on a mazy run, individual piece of skill, and then something might open up. At the moment, that's the only way they look like they can score a goal.
Carvalho to João Felix midway through the Uruguay half. We're in stoppage time here in this first half. João Felix 30 yards out. Nice little dummy by Bernardo Silva to Guerrero with the cross. just away from Ronaldo, who was lurking right side of the 6-yard box. He actually puts his hand up to acknowledge the delivery from Guerrero, but it'll go out of play for a Uruguay throw, and Oliveira is just walking across. He's sauntering. In fact, there is the half-time whistle. Well, we've had 3 yellow cards: Bentancur, Ruben Neves and Oliveira, but in terms of chances on goal, the only real effort of note came for Uruguay, with a strong run from Bentancur, picking the ball up in the centre circle of his own half, and in the end forcing a very good save from Diogo Costa.
Yeah, one effort on goal, but it was a good effort, has to be said. Really good piece of individual skill from Bentancur, who was very positive, direct, aggressive with his decision making, went past a couple of players, actually skipped through them, found himself bearing down on goal, and it was a great save from Costa. But other than that, you're right, Deno, it's been not the most entertaining, it has to be said.
I think, Kelly, if we're to continue the prescription theme, both of these two sides are in need of some tonic at half-time, 0-0. Thanks, Kelly. Matt's just said to me when we've been reflecting on that first half as the second half is underway that there hasn't really been a lot to get your teeth into. I said, what do you expect? Luis Suarez isn't playing. But it's certainly been toothless, hasn't it, from the two teams so far?
It has been toothless, unfortunately, and any kind of teeth would do. Just to liven it up a bit, Deno.
Yeah. Well, the game is back underway. Neither side has made a change, although Portugal did make a change during that first half, which didn't certainly look good for Nuno Mendes with his a recurrence of a hamstring problem. Looked to me with his reaction that he feels his World Cup will be over, but Costa's in goal. So now with the back four of Cancelo, Diaz, Pepe and Guerrero, Bernardo Silva, Neves, William Carvalho, Felix Ronaldo and Bruno Fernandes. Portugal in their red and green shirts and green shorts are playing from left to right as we look against a Uruguay side all in white, who line up with Rochette in goal, Jimenez, Godin and Coates as a back three, Varela and Oliveira as the wing backs right and left respectively, Bentancur and Vecino in the midfield, and Valverde floating behind Nunez and Cavani. And it's 0-0, and remember, a win for Portugal and they become the third side to qualify for the knockout stages. England will hope that they will join them tomorrow, and should join them unless they suffer a heavy defeat, and it all works against Gareth Southgate's side. But you'll hear that, of course, tomorrow in Group B. Wales, England from 7 o'clock. Iran, the United States is of course the other game in that, but before that we've got Ecuador, Senegal, as we've just been hearing with Kelly and Tim, and updates of the Netherlands against Qatar. But Godin back to Rochette, and still the pace of the game remains as sedate as it was at times in the first half, as Carvalho wins it high up the pitch. João Felix then gets the return ball back from Guerrero on that far side. João Felix comes on the inside, and the ball, did it take a deflection? Yes, it did. It's going to go behind for a corner kick to Portugal. Yeah,
just skipped off the toe of a Uruguayan player. I think it was Varela who got the final touch to put the ball out for a corner. But you're right, it's just that started in that slow manner, hasn't it? Very methodical. Nobody really challenging any of the opposition, really, in terms of getting in behind players, being physical, using pace.
Nothing materialises from the corner kick. Uruguay, though, on the counter-attack was quickly snuffed out. Bernardo Silva.
You've got no options there, though, Deno, have they? I mean,
going to be a late challenge. That was Vecino on Bernardo Silva. Vecino just left one on him there, and the referee, I'm surprised he hasn't been shown a yellow card. He's just going to give him a talking to the other Uruguayan central midfielder. Bentancur was booked early. Now, Oliveira was booked in the first half as well, and the referee's just said something to the left wing back of Uruguay.
Yeah,
it was a late one.
It was identical to the Bentancur booking, to be honest, and I can't understand why he hasn't got the yellow card out. He's already booked players for tackles that are exactly the same as that.
Yeah.
But the build up to it, with Uruguay on the breakaway, I mean, all you've got is Darwin Núñez trying to peel wide and look behind, and if you can't find him with that pass, that's it. You've got to go it alone. You've got to do a Benton Kerr and dribble past 3 players, which isn't going to happen all the time. So, the likelihood of them getting a goal on the counter at the moment, even Uruguay, doesn't look particularly high.
Problems here for Portugal. I mean, they've already been forced into making one enforced change with the injury to Nuno Mendes, but he looks in a great deal of pain, does Ruben Neves down there. The physio is still tending to him, but of course if they were to make another change now, that would give them only one more opportunity to make, well, what essentially would they'd have to make the maximum of 3 in that one next substitution if Neves can't recover from this blow.
I think he'll be alright. I think it's more like the knee went into the back of his calf, and almost like a dead leg type situation, and whether or not that's too much of a problem for him to carry on, but it's holding the back of his left calf, which is exactly where the knee of Vecino went into.
So he's coming off, he's hobbling, is Ruben Neves. It's still 0-0. BBC Radio 5 Live, 5 minutes into the second half. We said it was a slow burner in times of the first half. It's in danger of actually just being extinguished altogether, this game. Soporific is a word that springs to mind. Portugal 0, Uruguay 0. The ball then played back by Pepe to Costa. And in fact we've got a pitch invader here who's come on. And he's going to be... The pitch invader has come on. And he's going to be quickly apprehended.
Tackle.
And it was a real rugby tackle by the security guards. He had a flag, but as he was trying to unfurl the flag, it was unable to see what was actually on it, the colours. It was a pride flag. So a protester with a pride flag has been quickly apprehended. So a rainbow flag that he had, he quickly was on the pitch, came down by the Portugal dugout down below and ran onto the pitch, but he was soon taken off and he's been wheeled out to the far side of the stadium.
It was a cracking tackle from the security guard, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Nice technique, went low.
Now running forward is Bernardo Silva to João Felix. Unmarked, inside the penalty area. Shoots into the side netting. Bruno Fernandes is apoplectic. He wanted the ball crossed into the penalty area where Bruno Fernandes would have had a clear sight of goal 8 yards out running in. But João Felix went for goal and found the side netting.
Well, for one of the first times in this match so far, Uruguay were found a little bit high up the pitch, a little bit open, and that ball wide to João Felix, I think he should do better. I mean, he's at a tight angle, but if he opts to shoot, he has to try and go across the goal. It goes harmlessly into the side netting. It's not the best of efforts at all. I think that's the main reason why Bruno Fernandes was not happy with his teammate. He was lurking in that area of the pitch and wanted the ball put back across the goal.
So it's still 0-0. Neves, who seems to have recovered from that late challenge from Vecino, as Cancelo on this near side, 10 yards inside his own half. Carvalho lays it off. Pepe gives it away. Bentancur early towards Núñez, lays it off. Coming forward now is Valverde. Varela streaking ahead of him on that right hand side. Valverde's cross dropping straight into the arms of Costa. He's looked for the early release, but there was no movement, and that really at the minute sums up the game.
Yeah, nobody running across the face of the goalkeeper. He wanted to whip that ball in with his right foot and see a run from Darwin Núñez to get across that near post area. If he does that, any little glancing touch is a major problem for Costa in goal. But you're right, it's just a bit static, bit on his heels. We haven't really seen the excitement of Valverde yet, have we? He's just not had the ball in any key areas of the pitch.
Ronaldo back with Cancelo, runs along the halfway line, and Ruben Dias will play it forward now, and it's Bernardo Silva has got a little bit of space to run into, and then the ball is played in by Guerreiro to the feet of Bruno Fernandes. He drifts back out towards the left. Ronaldo with a downward Cristiano Ronaldo with the breakthrough goal, and that takes him level with Eusebio. 9 goals that he scored in a World Cup. Cristiano Ronaldo with the opening goal against Ghana. He's at it again, and Portugal won, Uruguay 0.
Well, you can talk about what threat this guy is with the ball at his feet, but what a threat he is when the ball's in the air. Unbelievable ability to head the ball for a player that's as talented as what he is and as skillful as what he is with the ball at his feet. And this is all about the timing of a run, the desire, the athleticism to win the ball and get across the face. I mean, he creeps the other side of the centre-back that he's standing right next against. He's standing between 2 defenders, but I think it's the heel of Varela on that far side that's playing him onside. He looks offside, but he isn't. The ball in is brilliant, but the timing of the run, I mean, I'm not even too sure if he even touches that, Benno. Is there a glancing touch? No. I'm not sure. He doesn't touch the ball. So he runs right across the face. Just what we were talking about with that run from Núñez, if he goes across the face of the goalkeeper. Causes all sorts of problems, but he actually doesn't touch the ball.
Well, good luck to the FIFA official who has to go into the dressing room to tell Cristiano Ronaldo that he didn't get the 9th goal in his 19th game of his illustrious World Cup career. Because in fact now, Bruno Fernandes, I know he's smiling because it's actually Bruno Fernandes who has been credited with the goal, and Cristiano Ronaldo on the 4 giant screens in each of the corners of this Lusail Stadium has looked up and has seen it. And so Bruno Fernandes has scored his first goal at a World Cup, but certainly with a celebration and the crowd reaction, everybody to a man thought it was Cristiano Ronaldo.
He knows he didn't touch it.
And that awkward moment,
cheeky,
mind you, he might now have a taste, as he had a potential chance on the edge of the area.
I mean, it's his goal in the sense of the way he's influenced that move was massive. You know, the cross was intended for him, his run was great, the leap was great, everything was bang on. He just didn't need to touch the ball. He tried to get a glancing header, but I think he was fully aware he didn't need much contact, which is why he probably just missed it. The delivery was great.
Ronaldo's smile is now one of anguish. He was challenged by Darwin Núñez just as he was about to shoot right-footed. Núñez came across and actually got a block challenge in and left Ronaldo writhing in agony. And it hasn't been a good tournament so far for Portugal, and they certainly, in terms of injuries, and they wouldn't want their talisman to be a serious one. Yeah. He's back on his feet, but he's hobbling quite badly at the minute.
It's one of those awkward ones because he kicked the side of his foot and almost it nudged Ronaldo's foot, so he almost like kicked into the ground a little bit, and he looks like he's just jarred his ankle. Could be one of those that it's a bit sore tomorrow.
Ball floated forward by Pepe. Portugal are on course to qualify. Uruguay need a response. Varela, right hand side, looking for Cavani. Cavani's first time volley down into the ground, right footed, just inside the penalty area where he'd made that movement. Couldn't get the connection from Edison Cavani, and it will be a goal kick.
That was a classic Cavani move, wasn't it? How many times have you seen him connect with that perfectly, or just good solid contact into the ground? He made a lovely run, dropped a shoulder and went right across the face of Pepe. It was a nice height the ball for that kind of side foot on the swivel, just to guide it towards the goal, and he just doesn't get the contact. Cavani, it's a big chance for him.
It's the first time in 6 World Cup games that Uruguay have kept or won't be keeping a clean sheet. They've kept one in their last 5 group games at the World Cup. No side has ever achieved 6 in tournament history, and that remains the case as Portugal leading by a 1-0 on BBC Radio 5 Live. To Cancelo on this near side to right. Carvalho goes further square infield. Ruben Neves. Uruguay, only the 3rd time they've actually conceded under Diego Alonso. That miserly defence has been breached, but it's what they can do at the other end, because otherwise Uruguay would have that crucial game against Ghana on Friday, knowing that they've got to win. Portugal will be going top, and as a result avoiding Brazil in the last 16. Cancelo gives it away. Vecino plays it forward. Nunez challenged by Pepe, but he manages to wriggle away from him. Nunez is going to shoot from distance, but right-footed, didn't really get the power to trouble Costa, and he made a routine save.
Yeah, you can see that shot come in for quite a few strides away. The moment the ball wriggled through the initial tackle, you knew that Nunez was going to take this on, get a strike on goal, but there were three Portugal defenders just throwing themselves in the way of the effort, and he just harmlessly rolled along the floor.
Ball picked up by Valverde for the all-white of Uruguay, playing from right to left, inside to Bentancur, 30 yards out from goal, goes back out to Valverde. Valverde returns the ball to the feet of Bentancur, who now passes the ball just slightly behind square to Coates, quite a pedestrian Coates, and now to Bentancur once again. Struggling to create the openings, Uruguay, in this game so far. We've been playing for an hour and they're trailing by 1-0. Bentancur plays it forward. This is Oliveira to Nunez. He was side on to goal. He goes back. The referee has to skip over the ball as they work it out towards the right hand side. Varela waits, but there's no intensity about their play. It's quite predictable. In comes the cross from the right over the head of Nunez, and that's going to peter out and run out of play for a throw. Uruguay have failed to score in their last 2 World Cup games. Only once have they failed to score in 3 successive matches. That was 86-90. But at the minute, they're labouring.
Yeah, there's not a lot of zip to their play, is there? Not a lot of punch, a lot of sharp movements. When you compare that to how Portugal play those little triangles and the movement off the ball, it's a lot brighter. Whereas I'm looking at Uruguay, and you're absolutely spot on, it's flat. There's not a lot of movement. They're hoping for almost a piece of individual brilliance, aren't they? Whether it be a brilliant an assist from Valverde with a cross or a through ball, or a piece of individual dribbling skill.
Well, here is Bentancur. Short ball to Nunez, who goes down inside the D. The referee says no, free kick. They're going to make a double change down below. Arrascaeta is going to be coming on, the midfielder. He was certainly key in qualifying with 5 goals. And Facundo Pellistri is going to be coming on of Manchester United. Hasn't featured for United this season. Back home, 11 times he's been an unused substitute, but he's going to be coming on for the 9th appearance for his country. So Pellistri comes on, Godin goes off, and the other player to go off. So Pellistri comes on for Godin.
Vecino goes off with Arrascaeta coming on in midfield.
So they'll go to a flat back 4 now, right. Uruguay.
Yeah, Godin will go off, and they'll have Coates and Jimenez as the 2 centre-backs.
So that's the change that has been made by Diego Alonso. In the first game, he brought Cavani on in the 64th minute as charged down was Costa. He was fortunate to see that run out of play and away from him. Uruguay looking for an equaliser with the throw on this near side. Oliveira now playing as a left back. Arrascaeta with his dyed hair in the midfield. Ball played out by Jimenez towards that far side. And Varela shrugs off the challenge of João Felix. Portugal have a slender lead, but look, by and large, quite comfortable. Ball headed forward. Pepe heads it away. Solid defending at the heart of that Portuguese defence. And it will be a throw to Portugal on this near side.
Uruguay are going to have to come with something soon. They're going to have to throw more at this game. You know, the caution they've had, the way they've sat in that shape, they've just gone to that back 4. Whether or not that'll just free up another attacking player to start to get higher up the pitch.
Ball goes out far side for Guerreiro, plenty of space to run into. Sends over the cross, Ronaldo was there, partially cleared. drops to the edge of the area. Bentancur will get there first. Aris Keita with the turn on this near side, hits it forward. All of a sudden now there's a little bit more urgency from Uruguay, as then coming across was Ruben Dias to play it out of play for a throw.
That's brilliant defending from Jimenez a moment ago at the back post with Ronaldo. Great ball in, gets a flick of the heel. It's Oliveira actually really has to sprint and work hard to get back the right side of Ronaldo as that cross comes in. Really good defending.
Here is Bentancur. There's a little bit more of a spark about Uruguay on BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds with 64 minutes played.
We haven't seen the game to-ing and fro-ing at all, have we?
No.
It's all been kind of, you have a little go, right, okay, now it's our turn, as opposed to, you know, action happening in the box and then breaking away, and it's not had a lot of flow to this match at all.
Nunez, edge of the area, out to Palestri, the substitute. Palestri right hand side, enters the penalty area now with the cross. The header, very well headed forward by Oliveira, who's getting forward on this left hand side, probably more as a left back than he did as a left wing back into the penalty area. Threw himself at it, but in the end it was a header that didn't really pose too many problems for Portugal, who still lead by 1-0. Bentancur, free kick goes in favour of Uruguay. Bentancur wants to take it quickly.
With that formation change, Oliveira's just coming to life.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's defending at the back post, he's then breaking forwards to get in the other box. It looks like he's just knows where he's at, you know, and I think there might be a little bit of that with that shape change for Uruguay.
Coates has done well stepping out of defence to win the ball. Palestri comes onto it. All of a sudden Uruguay is starting to offer a different threat. Palestri then has overrun it on that right hand side, and he runs it out of play for a goal kick. But I just find it a little bit strange that they've had to wait until just past the hour before all of a sudden we start to see a little bit more urgency and ambition from Uruguay.
No, I know, it's a shame, but perhaps that feeling of being in a different position for, let's say Oliveira, for instance, he's playing left wing back, but he was kind of between, wasn't he? Whereas he's playing left back now, it's where he usually plays, it's the formation that they're used to playing in, and all of a sudden they just look a little bit more comfortable. Perhaps they are a bit more vulnerable and the game might be a bit more open, but obviously that'll make it a far better game to watch. Yes. But it'll give them a chance to maybe get forward and score a goal.
The former England international Matt Upson, who's with us here on BBC Radio 5 Live. Portugal leading by 1-0. They've now opened the scoring in 7 of their last 8 games at the World Cup. They'll be going through as it stands. Uruguay go back to their goalkeeper, Rocher, downfield. Played forward though by Pepe for Portugal. Up into the air it goes. Bentancur's forward header. Aris Keita challenged by Cancelo. Played forward now to Palestri. Lets the ball settle on the halfway line. Plays it back to Guillermo Varela. From a current Manchester United player to a former United player, as Nunez unable to get there. Pepe again, right place, right time with his years of experience. Bruno Fernandes credited with that goal. Coming forward now for Portugal, and he finds Bernardo Silva. The return ball to Fernandes, tidied up at the back and cleared away downfield, and off the head it goes from Neves, runs out off the left hand side and out for a Uruguay throw. We're midway through the second half, and we're certainly going to have to see a little bit more from Uruguay, who have failed to progress from the group stages just once since 1974, and that was in 2002. They're trailing. Bentancur can't get hold of that ball. He was on the stretch and he's lost out towards Ronaldo, as the ball then is hit out towards Bernardo Silva on the left over his head, and it's a little bit scrappy and it's out for a throw on that far side, the Uruguayan right. Varela to take it, and we have just over 22 minutes remaining. Portugal looking to win their opening 2 great games for the third time. 2006 and 1966 when they did it before, and on both occasions they reached the semi-finals, as they're going to be making a change down below, and it's going to be Rafael Leao, who came off the bench to get his first goal for his country against Ghana, and he is going to be replacing Bernardo Silva. No, he's going to be replacing Ruben Neves, should I say.
I think that's from the knock that Neves had. I mean, I think Leao was always going to come on. He's a perfect player. really to bring on at this stage in the game against a team that has to come out and try and chase a goal somehow. He's got absolutely devastating pace and power, so anything in behind he's just going to really thrive off, and I think he's just going to make that switch with Neves and Bruno Fernandes will drop back into midfield and allow Leao to play a little bit higher up on the left hand side.
So that is the second opportunity for them to make a change, as Cavani was just trying to thread it through to Aris Keita. They've left themselves vulnerable to a counter-attack now, Uruguay. Bruno Fernandes, his ball inside. Cristiano Ronaldo quickly passes the ball out towards that left-hand side. It's Leao, he's onside, enters the penalty area. Leao looking for a shooting opportunity. They've doubled up on him, but he manages to knock the ball back. Bernardo Silva, little touch, back towards Leao once again. Beautifully swept, wasn't it, by Ronaldo out towards the substitute.
Lovely vision, wasn't it? One touch, knew he was there, just swept it out wide in one touch.
He's lost the ball. Strong running now forward from Valverde, and then Pepe with a challenge on Nunez, but the referee says he got the ball. Nunez can't believe it. Bernardo Silva accelerates. The game all of a sudden starting to increase in terms of its tempo. Ronaldo throws himself to the ground. Another challenge against Coates. No free kick. The referee's certainly consistent. Luis Suarez, by the way, is going to be coming on very soon for Uruguay. So Luis Suarez, will he replace Cavani or will he go up front alongside Cavani? As the cross from Aris Keita, headed forward then by Valverde, won't drop towards Cavani, cleared on the half volley by João Felix. It's starting to liven up.
Yeah, we've got starting to get the remnants of a game on our hands, but Darwin Nunez there, his movement in the box in this game just hasn't been good enough. You know, the cross is coming in, it's just static. Make a run, get across the face of someone, have a gamble in an area of the goal mouth where you think the ball might be coming, and do you know what, it might just end up on top of your head for a header or a finish or anything, but it's just so static in the box from Uruguay.
It's going to be a double change for Uruguay, as well as Luis Suarez. We're going to see Maxi Gomez coming on, who's a forward playing for Trabzonspor, formerly of Valencia. So the double change waiting to be made. So they are going to throw attacking players at it for the next 19 minutes or so, as Nunez loses out on the edge of the area. Bernardo Silva won back on this near side by Oliveira, and it will go out of play for a goal kick. So who's going to be coming off? Nunez is one of the players who's going to be coming off. Darwin Nunez to be replaced by Maxi Gomez, a bull-like striker. 28 appearances now that he's made for his country. Do they keep Cavani on? He's looking across towards the bench. It is going to be, I think, Cavani coming off, is it? They can't work out the electronic board down below. Certainly the TV directors think that it's going to be Cavani coming off.
No.
And it is Cavani coming off. At one stage the electronic board had shown 11, and there isn't an 11 on there, but he's corrected it now. So Cavani comes off, a 35-year-old to be replaced by another 35-year-old in Luis Suarez, the all-time top scorer for Uruguay for what will be his fourth and final World Cup appearance, and how they need him to add to his tally of 68 goals for his country. So Luis Suarez is on. They've made a double change, they've freshened up their forward line, and they have 17 minutes of normal time remaining.
I've been disappointed with Darwin Nunez tonight. He hasn't brought the energy and the movement that I really thought he would to this game, and so what Uruguay desperately need, to be honest, and it doesn't surprise me that he's made that switch.
Well, there is a banner behind that goal away towards our right hand side that reads La Celeste Nunca Morere, which is the Sky Blues never die, and they've got 16 and a bit minutes remaining to make sure that they're not struggling in this Group H, because they will have 1 point from 2 games going into their final match on Friday against Ghana, and Portugal will be home and hosed.
I don't think I'd get through a commentary with you without you kind of referring to a piece of lingo from another country. You know, you're very, very well travelled, and you know, you're into that kind of welcoming, learning the language even here, aren't you?
Well, me aprendo español, but the way I pronounce that, I've got a little bit of work to do. Uruguay on the attack. Pelestri hits it first time. Off the post. It was Maxi Gomez. Hit it first time right-footed just outside the D. Pelestri played the square ball to him. Costa was beaten diving away to his left-hand side, and it cannoned back off the right post. And Uruguay, who were unlucky on a couple of occasions against South Korea in their opening game, have once again been denied by the woodwork.
That was a brilliant strike, really was. First time, right-footed, great power. Just tried to curl it into that far post. It was so close.
So maybe signs that Uruguay, there is still life in this South American side, who are trailing by a goal to 0, but Bernardo Silva is on the attack for Portugal, and it cannoned back off him, and it will go out of play for a goal kick that they want to take quickly. We said before that they'd laboured. They're certainly starting to show a little bit more urgency now with a quarter of an hour remaining.
It certainly was a brilliant effort from Gomez, really was. Came to him across the side of the box, and he's leaning away from that effort and curls it with his right foot. Really clean, hard strike. I mean, Costa was diving, but nowhere near it.
They've just said that the Lusail Stadium is at full capacity, but I'm pretty sure that the numbers they put up on the board were actually lower than the attendance that was given for the Argentina-Mexico game here, which FIFA had claimed was the highest World Cup attendance since the 1994 final. So a little bit like when I was struggling with my figures in the first half, open to interpretation with FIFA at this World Cup. A little bit like the added on time as well.
Yeah, I think every attendance has been, hasn't it? It's been a bit bizarre.
1-0 though to Portugal, 14 minutes remaining.
There's a lot of people here though, to be fair. It's a decent turnout, isn't it? They haven't been massively entertained with this game.
No. João Felix has been shown a yellow card for Portugal. Now the contest, I was really looking forward to the contest, but I've been disappointed by it so far. Failed to live up to the expectations of these two sides. Their second meeting at a World Cup after Uruguay eliminated Portugal in the last 16 in Russia. And Portugal on course to reach the knockout stages once again. However, Uruguay will have something to say about that, but they need to score in these next 13 minutes. Arrascaeta is going to take a free kick. It's on the left-hand side. It's almost level with the penalty area. Portugal have got everybody back. There are 5-6 white shirts to aim for inside the penalty area. Arrascaeta, right-footed, plays it in low. Forced to Luis Suarez! And he had a go at goal from close range, left-footed. It dropped to him very, very quickly. And inside the 6-yard box, he's hit the side netting. And Portugal still lead 1-0.
Well, they were lucky to get this chance because it was such a poor free kick. Goes really low through the legs of Bruno Fernandes, I think it is, and it arrives at the feet of Luis Suarez, and he's right next to the near post. It's very difficult for him to be able to get the angle to wrap his foot round that and pull it back across the goal. Really tight spot, but straight into the side netting.
He turns 36 in January, does Luis Suarez, and he had a sight of goal, and it wasn't that far wide. Just over 10 minutes remaining on BBC Radio 5 Live. A little touch from Valverde, the return ball, and Valverde can run into the space. There's a man over on the right-hand side. He plays the ball forward to Arrascaeta, who tried the little dink and didn't get enough on it. And in the end, it was Costa to make the save. Didn't seem to trouble him enough.
Was it a shot? Not even sure if it was a shot. Whether or not he's tried to be clever here, Arrascaeta, and pull this ball back across. I think he did. I think he tried to square it. I don't think it was a shot. If he just maybe puts his head down and really puts his foot through it into the near post, it goes in, or just get a connection on the ball and send it between the posts, and you don't know what's going to happen, but I think he tries to just cut that one back. Real chance, great pass, wasn't it, from Valverde to put him in?
Certainly was, but there was just no conviction about him, was there?
No, nothing at all.
But there are signs that Uruguay could still get something from this game as they trail by a goal to nil. Leao for Portugal, running out towards that far side, and he's given the ball away. One wonders where the urgency was for the majority of this game from Uruguay as Bentancur races over to that far side to take the throw, and Valverde passes it out, and Palestri now will come forward off that right side, back towards Valverde. Arrascaeta makes the run ahead of him on that right hand side, and it will roll out of play for a Uruguay throw that Bentancur is going to take. We just have 10 minutes remaining of normal time. Valverde, Varela turning, right hand side, Varela with a cross, headed away well by Ruben Dias. Portugal try and play their way out of defence. Leao back there, and he's going to be penned in, and his clearance only goes as far as Bentancur. Varela was looking for Arrascaeta. Bernardo Silva drops back, but his clearance, and Portugal now have got everybody back. They're dropping very, very deep, so all of a sudden it's going to keep coming back at them.
I mean, all of a sudden Uruguay have just grabbed the ball by the horns and just thought, right, we need to take this game to Portugal. Been waiting for this for quite a while, and it's now making a decent match of it, and Portugal having to really defend quite deep.
Ball played out to Varela, right hand side for Uruguay with the cross. Luis Suarez tried to get on the end of it, and it's been headed behind, and it's a corner kick. And I said that Portugal have only got one more opportunity. It'd have to be a triple substitution. That's exactly what Fernando Santos wants to do, but not just yet, not when they've got a corner kick to defend.
Great header from Cancelo, gets across Suarez, who reacted a little bit late. You could see the danger area, but Cancelo read it brilliantly, got his head on it first and just nudged Suarez out the way.
Corner kick comes in, cleared away by Fernandes. So we're going to see Paulinho going to be coming on. We're also going to get a first glimpse at this World Cup for the Wolverhampton Wanderers midfielder Mateus Nunes, and then the other player who's going to be coming on is Gonçalo Ramos, who was a substitute against Ghana in the opening match. So that's going to be the triple change that is being made. Who are the players who are going to be going off? And it is going to be João Felix, Cristiano Ronaldo and William Carvalho. So Ronaldo hands over the captain's armband to Pepe. He hasn't equalled Portugal's record of 9 goals set by Eusebio at a World Cup, even though that he thought he had, and he acknowledges the crowd. But it's still the 1 goal credited to Bruno Fernandes that is the difference between the two.
I'm just looking at the replay of that part that he played in the goal. He got no touch on the ball, but it's all about his run and how he influences football matches. I mean, you can walk off without the actual goal next to your name, but he certainly influenced this game just by that movement and his athleticism that allowed the ball to go straight into the far post of the net.
Pepe hasn't put a foot out of place.
No, he's
been
very good, but I mean, he hasn't been tested anywhere near as much, but yeah, I do agree. He's read it well, hasn't he? Stepped in, made good decisions. I mean, he's so experienced, isn't he? The one question mark you had over is that mobility. Now, as you get older, you lose the ability to match players, but he's made good choices.
Leao shoots from distance, right-footed, dragged well wide, good foot and a half wide of that left-hand post as we look. They've got a player in their squad, he's 19 years of age, he's another one off the conveyor belt at Benfica, he's called Antonio Silva. And when Pepe made his debut, Antonio Silva was just 4. And here he is now, the young defender coming up through the ranks of Pepe, fierce competitor, turns 40 in February, made his debut back then in 2007. He's hardly played 49 minutes since October the 4th with a knee injury, and there he is filling in for Danilo Pereira, and as good as ever at the heart of that Portuguese defence. Portugal lead 1-0, Matt Upson.
That makes it incredible, to be fair, that he hasn't played that amount of football either, and at that age he looks in great shape. and to be coping with this game, yeah, pretty amazing stuff.
By my watch, as the ball is played forward, Gonzalo Ramos, there was a little nibble there from Coates. He's rolled the ball out to Bernardo Silva. Now on this near side is Cancelo. We have 6 minutes of normal time remaining. Mateus forward. Bernardo Silva level with the penalty area on the right hand side, but it's won back by Valverde and then cleared away by Jimenez up towards Luis Suarez. Strikes it first time, diagonal ball out towards Pellistri, and Guerreiro will get there, and Guerreiro brings it over the halfway line, and Portugal are back in possession. Time desperately running out for Uruguay. Portugal are on the verge of qualifying to the knockout stages along with Brazil and the reigning champions France, unless Uruguay can find an equaliser in the closing stages here on 5 Live. Bentancur being fouled, wants to take the free kick quickly, prevented from doing so by Gonzalo Ramos. Now they play it out to this near side. Uruguay's third and final opportunity to bring on players is going to be happening very, very soon, and we're going to be seeing Mateus Vinha, who is going to be coming on for Diego Alonso's side. So Vinha, who came on for the last 11 minutes in their opening game. Actually, he's a left-sided defender, so what Diego Alonso is going to do here is going to be interesting as he goes in search, and in fact it's just going to be like for like. He's going to replace Mateus Oliveira, the left-back.
I mean, he's put in quite a big shift, especially since they've gone to a back 4 Oliveira, but maybe just wants to freshen that area of the pitch up, thinking there's going to be some attacking action coming down the left-hand side for Uruguay, but they've just kind of dampened off a little bit, haven't they? They had a little flurry for 10-15 minutes, looked a bit of a threat, but they're not been too much in the game lately. They've got a free kick to put in the box now, but Portugal coping with nearly everything they're throwing at them.
Taken short, Valverde from distance, always on the rise, over 30 yards out from goal, central position, right-footed. It was always climbing the moment it left his right boot, and away from Costa for a goal kick. 1-0 to Portugal.
It was forced, wasn't it? That wasn't set, wasn't in the right moment. There'd been no kind of build up to that touch out of your feet and shot. They were just so nicely set. Portugal was going to take some effort from Valverde, but you just feel like that's where he's at in his head. He's not had a lot of opportunity to impact the game, and you're resorting to pot shots from 30 yards away through a load of bodies.
3 and a bit minutes remaining. Uruguay have a free kick midway through their own half. Jimenez plays the ball out towards Maxi Gomez, the substitute on that right hand side, dropping back, and then it's played to Bentancur, who's dropped in between the 2 central defenders. Here is Coates, left of those 2. Ball played out now to Vinha, the left-sided defender. Challenge came in, he was dispossessed, and Portugal now have it with Bernardo Silva. Bruno Fernandes tried to lift the ball downfield, headed back by Vinha. Out of play it will go. It'll be a Uruguay throw. You just, after that little flurry where Luis Suarez went close, you don't, and there was a chance for Arrascaeta as well, you don't feel in the closing stages that Uruguay are going to actually score.
No, and Gomez hit the post, didn't he, with a really good effort, and you start to think, hold on a minute, this could be something for Uruguay, but they've just not really built on that at all, and Portugal just crept a little bit back into the game. They're so good with possession, Portugal.
Vinha's cross on the left-hand side, charged down by Cancelo. Bentancur tries to win it back. Bruno Fernandes, that spinning ball wouldn't go out of play. Instead he's played it forward to Bernardo Silva, who was hampered there by Coates, but he has got it forward towards Ramos, who now plays it out towards the right-hand side, and Bernardo Silva will run forward for Portugal. They lead by a goal to 0. Here is Bruno Fernandes. He's tried to thread it through to Ramos. It's kept alive by Bernardo Silva. His left-footed cross was blocked. Leao plays it back. Paulinho. Portugal now have got plenty of red and green shirts forward, and in the closing stages Portugal have the ball where they want it. They're in control. 1-0. Cancelo will run down towards the corner flag, and very, very well he'll win a corner off the legs of a very tired Coates.
Yeah, it's the perfect scenario as Bruno Fernandes is looking at a handball. I saw him appeal to the referee as he tried to nutmeg, I think it was Jimenez, who went down on the floor in a slightly earlier move, and his hand stopped the ball behind him. I think he made a big appeal to the referee, but they've now got a corner high on the right hand side, and really I'm not too sure if I expect this ball to come into the box, do you? I think they're just going to try and play out in an area of the pitch and just run down the clock.
Ruben Dias has been shown a yellow card by the Iranian referee. He joins João Felix in the book of Ali Reza Fagani.
Oh, he's having a look at that penalty.
This doesn't bode well for.
Yeah, he's going to have a look at the handball.
Possible penalty, handball.
That Bruno Fernandes was complaining about. He was driving with the ball into the box and he just nudged it underneath Jimenez, and his left hand goes behind him. I mean,
that's not.
What can he do about it? He doesn't know where the ball's going. He's just fallen down. It's hit his left hand. It's clearly hit his hand, but his arm isn't in an unnatural position,
and he's falling to the floor.
He's falling to the floor.
So that would be a supporting hand.
Absolutely. It's going to be interesting, though.
Well, the VAR is Abdullah Almari, who is from Qatar.
Oh dear.
And he has instructed Ali Reza Fagani to give a penalty.
Well,
I've got to say that's harsh. He's falling backwards, and his left arm is going down to support the body.
He's not looking at the ball, and I think that's the key to this. If you're going to start to analyse it correctly about the movement of the player and how intentional it is, the referee's just seen it hit his hand, and he's just literally walked away from the screen and gone, yeah, hit his hand, this handball. Whereas really, Jimenez isn't looking at the ball. He doesn't know where it is. His arm's just behind him to break his fall as he's gone to ground. So look at him, he looks livid, Jimenez. He just can't believe it.
Well, the normal penalty taker, Ronaldo, of course, is off the pitch. He's scored 24. He's had 24 penalties. The other one who would normally take one is João Mario. He takes penalties for Benfica. And it is Bruno Fernandes who currently is cradling the ball under his right arm. And they're just waiting for all the fuss to die down because the protests are continuing. And I've got to say, I've got a great deal of sympathy for Uruguay.
Yeah.
Because what's happening, that was never... You wouldn't have said that was a deliberate handball.
No, the referee's not interpreted that rule correctly in that instance. He hasn't took into consideration the fact that there's nowhere really that left arm's going to go of Jimenez. If he goes to ground, which he does, the ball goes through his legs, but he's not able to see where his hand is in line with the ball. It just hits his hand. The referee just clearly hasn't taken that into account, which is poor.
Well, this, in stoppage time, is Bruno Fernandes. It's a straight run-up against Rocher. Bruno Fernandes waits. Portugal lead by a 1-0. Up until tonight, Bruno Fernandes had never scored at a World Cup finals. He could make it 2, and he has. Slow run-up, right-footed, rolls the ball into the left-hand side. Bruno Fernandes at the double, and Portugal are the third side to qualify for the knockout stages. They lead Uruguay by 2-0. But Uruguay are still complaining about that controversial decision.
Cool and calm is the order of the day from Bruno Fernandes. He wasn't flustered in this situation. Little bit of a Jorginho style penalty, tiny little taps on the run-up, little skip in the air, and then just casually waits for Rocher to just fall to the left-hand side, and he puts it to the goalkeeper's right, really comfortable, strokes it into the back of the net. He sees the goalkeeper's gone, there's no pressure on the penalty once he realises his body weight is that way. And Ronaldo, he's off the bench, big smile on his face, knowing that Portugal are going through.
VAR now, not once but twice, has been found wanting when it comes to penalties with Portugal in this competition.
I'd agree with that.
Because you wouldn't have said that Ronaldo's penalty against Ghana should have been awarded.
No.
And you've got to have every sympathy for Uruguay with the award of that penalty.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think that Jimenez is really hard done by. He had no idea whether his hand was going to hit the ball or not. He just goes to ground to try and tackle Bruno Fernandes, who nutmegs him. And yeah, I mean, there was quite a delay on that as well, wasn't there? I mean, it was a good minute or so before the VAR have actually looked at it and asked the referee to go to the screen.
But you wouldn't have said it was a clear and obvious error
Absolutely
from the Iranian referee before the VAR, Abdullah Almari, intervened.
But I've seen a few like that, Deno. It's almost like the clear and obvious has been put to one side.
Yeah.
And they're just going on the video evidence and pulling it back. So not too sure where that rule is, or how that interpretation of clear and obvious is being enforced at the moment.
And they said when VAR was introduced that it wouldn't be re-refereeing, but it is re-refereeing. Group H then means that Uruguay are up against it. Portugal will be going through. 2 wins from 2. And therefore, South Korea against Portugal next week. Does Fernando Santos on Friday, does he rest a few players? Whilst Ghana against Uruguay, because Ghana 3 points, South Korea and Uruguay will both have 1.
He's got a couple of players with knocks, hasn't he? I think Ronaldo might be feeling that ankle knock at some point, and Ruben Neves went off, so he might just rest a few due to injury.
Valverde with the interception from Guerrero's run to the edge of the area. 2-0 then, Portugal lead here on BBC Radio 5 Live. 5 minutes of added on time, which we now have used here inside the Lusail Stadium, as Leao back there helping out.
They've been poor going forward, Uruguay, haven't they? Really poor. Some of the passing and the movement just hasn't happened for them this evening.
Mateus, far side, plays it back. Only the second time in their World Cup history. Champions, of course, in 1930 and 1950. Although they do have the 4 stars on their shirts, because they believe that the Olympic gold success that they had in 1924 and 1928 was a FIFA tournament. Merits having the 4 stars on their shirts, but whether they're going to add another one, they're going to be struggling to qualify. But for only the second time in their World Cup history, they've failed to score in 3 successive games now. And that is a real concern for them, that they'll certainly have to address going into that game against Ghana on Friday. Portugal 2, Uruguay 0, and we're in added on time. We've already gone past the 5 minutes that was put up for the Iranian referee, but certainly Uruguay were not happy with the award of the penalty that was converted by Bruno Fernandes. So 2 goals for the Manchester United player, and Portugal going through. And a rare win for them against South American nations, and they could get further goals here. Mateus away, left hand side, down towards the byline, pulls the ball back. Fernandes on a hat-trick, kept out by the legs of Rochette. Behind it goes for a corner kick, and we almost had the first hat-trick at this World Cup tournament for the Manchester United player.
It was actually a really good strike at the back post. The ball's hung up there. He's on full stretch as well and running at full tilt, and he makes good contact with the ball, really guides it down onto the grass, and it just bounces up and hits Rocher in the shin to deflect it wide for a corner.
Corner's taken short on the right. We've been playing for nearly 8 minutes of added on time. Not too sure how much longer the Iranian referee wants to play here at the Lusail Stadium, with Portugal leading by 2-0. Loose ball out from the back by Bentancur. Interception from Leao. Keeps it in play on that left-hand side of the penalty area. Pulls it back. They go inside. Bruno Fernandes hits the post. Denied again. That hat-trick goal will not arrive. Right-footed edge of the area. Struck the base of the left-hand post. Out for a goal kick.
Yeah, Uruguay have just gone at the moment, giving the ball away sloppily. Portugal play it really well. Comes to Fernandes on the edge of the box. He's just sat up a little bit onto his right foot, bounces it into the ground and straight off the outside of the post.
Pepe at the minute is just feeling the effects. I mean, we're now into 9 minutes of added on time. The poor fella, he's only played 49 minutes. He must be thinking, when's the referee going to blow his whistle, since early October.
He must be thinking, when did extra time start?
Yeah. Well, wait till we have the potential for extra time.
Can you imagine?
We could be having 2-hour games in this World Cup.
150 minutes of football.
We'll be having longer than 2-hour games.
Yeah.
Because extra time would be 2 hours. We could be having 2.5-hour games.
Yeah.
Told you that maths was never my strong point. I realised as soon as I said that.
I didn't want to say anything.
No.
I was just nodding my head.
We're in the 10th minute here. I think he's forgotten. Portugal are coming forward. Leao far side the left. Goes away from Varela. Told to get onto his feet. There was no foul there from the Uruguayan right back. And his ball played out to this near side for Viña. He's now having a look at his watch. Up it goes to Luis Suarez. Mind you, they could play for another 2 hours, and you don't think that Uruguay would score.
They wouldn't score. And sad really, because they've got some good talent in the team potentially, but it's just haven't put it together tonight at all.
Well, after 10 minutes of added on time, the referee finally blows his whistle. And Bruno Fernandes with his 2 goals. We thought that Ronaldo had got the first. Ronaldo thought that he'd got the first, until he realised that it was credited to Bruno Fernandes. There was no touch. And then that controversial penalty converted by Bruno Fernandes in injury time, sufficient to see Portugal get back-to-back wins and qualify for the knockout stages, beating Uruguay 2-0. Matt Upson.